Hi, my name is Keith D'Souza and I'm a software engineer with the mobility team in the enterprise networking group. And what we're showcasing over here is an app that we've developed in order to be able to communicate with your router, be able to do basic configuration changes and troubleshoot your router, even if none of your WAN interfaces are up and you have absolutely no IP connectivity to the router. So none of the interfaces are up, but you're still going to be able to put in a few configurations, monitor what's the status of the router, make few changes, and bring up that WAN interface such that it can communicate back to your management server, and then your management server can at that point take over from there, and you can do additional configurations if you like. And the main purpose for this app is to prevent customers from having to do a truck rollout, wherein a lot of the time our customers have their routers deployed in locations which are not easily accessible or are really far away, like a couple of 100 miles, if not less. And they have to do a truck rollout to do simple troubleshooting tasks like shutting or unshutting an interface, maybe power cycling a modem or a firmware upgrade, or even reloading a router. And so this increases the overall OpEx of the customer. And with this app, you'll be able to prevent all of that, and customers will be able to do all of those basic configuration changes and troubleshooting steps right using the mobile app without having to do a single line of CLI. So the way we're doing this is we're using SMS as the underlying layer for transport over here, because SMS does not require an IP connectivity or data connectivity to your router. SMS uses a circuit switch network, and it requires a phone number of the modem that it's communicating with, and so an SMS will go through even if your IP network is not up. And we use SMS as the transport layer to communicate back and forth and get the configurations and the troubleshooting steps across, and also get a response back from the router. So the way we add the routers on to this application is you could add the information by putting in the information manually, the router name, the serial number of the router, the phone number, and the IMEI of the modem on the router, or you could just have all of that information encoded into a QR code and just scan the QR code, which could be placed on your router or any other location. Just scan the QR code, it'll pull out the information, and then you hit connect, and at that point the app will authenticate with itself with the router, and the router will respond back to you. So I already have these routers set up over here, and you can see once it's authenticated, your router will be added onto the app. I can now access the router and do a few things over here. So from a show command perspective, I can pull out information regarding router summary, like I can check and see in the router what's the iOS version running on the router, how long has this router been up, or what's the CPU utilization, or what's the memory utilization of the router. So you can see over here it's giving me all the information. The router has been up for an hour and 20 minutes. That's the iOS version running on it. It has 2 modules in there, and this is the utilization. I can pull out information regarding the cellular interface with respect to which interfaces are up, what's the IP address on them. I can check and see if they are in the administrative downstate, or from a cellular summary perspective, I can pull out information regarding the modem firmware running on the modem, what's the modem type running on it, the IMEI, IMSI information. I can even pull out the information related to the radio signal on the modem. And where this is important is sometimes in a greenfield deployment, when customers are deploying a brand new router, they're trying to decide what's the best location to locate this router, where should I orient my antennas, do I need an antenna extender, all of these questions. And so what a customer can do, and he doesn't have to log into the router now, he can just set up the router and keep querying the router and see, reorient his antennas and check and see if the signal achieved is what he's looking for. Is it a good quality signal condition? I can see information related to the network. Am I on my home network? Is this the right service provider that I'm connected to? What is the MCC and MNC of the service provider? It gives me all that information over here. Now, from a configuration standpoint, I can put configurations that go under the interface gig interface. I can configure an IP address. I can even put any custom CLI that I would like to go under the interface, like a GRE tunnel configuration or a NAT configuration, anything that I require for my interface to then come up and be able to connect to the WAN network. From a cellular interface standpoint, I can configure profiles. So sometimes if a service provider has required the customer to use a new APN, the customer now does not have to log into the router and change the APN on the router using a few CLI. He can just go to this app over here, add the APN information, and just push the configuration, and that configuration will be applied there. I can also do configurations like changing the attachment data profile, enabling or disabling GPS. This app, if GPS is enabled, I can retrieve the location of the router from this app as well. From a troubleshooting standpoint, let's say once I've made my configuration changes, let's say I want to shut or unshut the interface. I found that the gig interface is shut. I can unshut it from here and it'll go and unshut it on the router for me. Once it's unshut, I can test and see whether my interface has actually come up, if my connectivity is resumed. So I can put in an IP address that I would like the router to ping, and it'll ping that IP address for me. So it's going to request the router to ping that IP address, and it's going to respond back to me on what the status of that ping was. So you can see over here, I was able to achieve 100% of the pings. It'll give me the information on the latency, min, max, and average latency. I can reload any of the modules in the router. If for any reason during my troubleshooting I need to actually reload the modules, the cellular module or any other modules in the router, I can do that remotely from here. I can do modem firmware upgrade from here. So sometimes the customers, let's say they're looking for a newer modem firmware, we can do modem firmware by two ways. We can do using a USB. So let's say there's some person who has the modem firmware available on a USB stick, he can just go and stick that USB stick into the router and click configure from here without having to fire a single line of CLI, and it'll upgrade the modem firmware for you. The FOTA is a new feature that we're coming up with, wherein we have a provisioning server where all of the modems on your network can be hosted, and you can decide what is the modem firmware that you would like to run on each of these modems. And then you can either schedule it for download at a time that you want, or you could just go over here and click FOTA, and this app will instruct the modem to just go and download the modem firmware immediately and upgrade the modem for you. You could power cycle the modem. You could even do DM logging. DM logging is an important feature that we have, wherein we are able to capture logs on the modem, the logs related to the service provider network. A lot of times if the service provider network has an issue, and let's say it's causing the cellular interface to flap, we require the DM logs to be captured in order to debug them and then point out to the customer the changes that they should request of the service provider. However, since they don't have IP access to the router, they're not able to log in and capture those DM logs. So with this app, you can just go here and click DM logging enable, and it'll enable DM logging right for you. The logs will be captured on the router, and whenever your connectivity is resumed, you can just pull all of these configurations out. So this app basically makes all of this configuration and troubleshooting steps for the customer really easy without having any IP connectivity to the router, because all of this goes over SMS. And also, even if the LTE network is congested and the modem falls back to 3G or 2G network, SMS is still going to be supported on it. The customer will still be able to access their router. And so this will tremendously prevent a customer, truck rollout for the customer and help reduce the customer OpEx.
Is this a proof of concept, or is this going to be available for Apple and Android devices?
So this is currently a proof of concept. We're working on the development of this app, but when the app is finally available, it will be available in Google Store and the iPhone Store as well.